President Biden wants to go entirely electric, making manufacturers dependent on the very cobalt mines his son helped sell to the Chinese.
How many barrels of oil does the U.S. consume per day?
I don't have that number in front of me, sir.
Something that could be controversial. Perhaps forego the turkey.
Hunter Biden is back in the news. I know we're easing into Thanksgiving, but it's something that you should hear. Nancy Pelosi bought a brand new house. Thanksgiving stuff is all around, and some ridiculous things were said on NBC. Thomas Jefferson is now out of the New York City Hall. All of that and more coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. My name is Jobob. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
2, 1.
Here we go.
That might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually her name, Jobob.
Live from a dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. Thanks so much for tuning in to Daily Caller Live on today. It is November 24th, year of our Lord 2021. Thanks so much for tuning in. I know we're easing into Thanksgiving. Many of you might be traveling as you're watching this or listening to this on the podcast. If you miss any segment of the show, you got to get the podcast. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, or you watch it on YouTube, anywhere of that. Got to talk about Hunter Biden. Again, I know we're in Thanksgiving mode, but some things are happening, and I think they're happening right now for a reason. The Hunter Biden story is absolutely ridiculous, but before we talk about that, I want to talk about this. Thomas Jefferson's statue was officially removed from New York City Hall. After 187 years, the New York City Hall decided that Thomas Jefferson was too racist to have a statue in City Hall. Thomas Jefferson did own slaves, as did most people in the time in the United States of America. Not most people, but that was a normal thing that happened. Yet the New York City Hall said, no, we're judging him by today's standards. We are righteous, more righteous than thou. Thomas Jefferson must go, regardless of how instrumental he was to the American founding. The Thomas Jefferson statue that stood inside New York City Hall for the last 187 years was taken down yesterday. Not really much more to say about that other than the wokeness around the American political system continues to abound at such levels that are almost incomprehensible. I do want to get to this. This is going to be our big story for the day. If you don't listen to anything, listen to this part because this is great. And by great, I mean terrifying. I don't actually mean great because it's not actually good news. But Hunter Biden has a pretty big conflict of interest. We already see the comments pouring in. A lot of the "Let's go Brandon." Jenny says, "Let's go Brandon." Well, I can bring up a couple more of these, but again, you guys use so many swear words that I can't usually bring these on the screen. But a lot of Hunter Biden comments coming in. This is a story that is now coming up to the surface. If you remember, just to reset the Hunter Biden thing really briefly, all those emails from that laptop turned out to be true. Remember, Twitter locked the New York Post out of their Twitter account for like 2 weeks because they refused to take down the story that ultimately turned out to be true, that the Hunter Biden laptop was actually legit. Hunter Biden loses more laptops than I think I own. And I own a lot of laptops, or have ever owned. But all that stuff turned out to be true. Hunter Biden actually did send all of those emails, saving 10 for the big guy, H, who was probably Hunter, saving 10 for the big guy, who is probably Joe Biden. But that is just seems to be par for the course for especially Democrats in federal power. We'll talk about Nancy Pelosi. You're never going to guess where she bought a house, but another one of these super rich, super wealthy, but working for the poor Democrats in the federal office. Back to this, Hunter Biden, we reset that story really quick. Listen to this clip from Fox News. We'll talk about it on the other side to kind of explain it. They did a better job than I'm going to do at condensing this thing down short. Sometimes I'm a little long-winded. I'm going to shut up and play this video. Listen to this. This is the news story from Hunter Biden. Also, if you haven't already, click the share button. I know there's a lot of you watching, a lot of you pre-Thanksgiving people who are still attentive to the news. Click the share button. Click the little like buttons below. It helps us reach a wider audience because guess what? Nobody is covering this. Fox News did a story yesterday about how nobody's talking about this. So you need to share it. You need to click the like button so that we can get to more people, as many people as possible. I'm going to shut up now and play this clip. Listen to this. We'll talk about it on the other side.
Hunter Biden flew with his father, then vice president, to China in 2013. At the time, the media thought it was no big deal. And 6 years later, neither did Joe.
How many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
Now, however, that trip and Hunter's ties to China are coming under renewed scrutiny.
It seems complicated and shady and something that you would expect from Hunter Biden.
10 days after that trip, Hunter formed Bohai Harvest Investments, a private equity fund that, according to the New York Times, later helped a Chinese company acquire a cobalt mine in the Congo in Central Africa. Why does it matter? Cobalt is a scarce metal, essential for electric car batteries.
I'm telling you guys, I recommend them.
In 2016, at the time of the purchase, the Obama-Biden White House provided $4.5 billion to help power electric cars, and today, President Biden wants to go entirely electric, making manufacturers dependent on the very cobalt mines his son helped sell to the Chinese.
We all know Hunter Biden's a walking, talking conflict of interest, but I've been saying for months that Hunter Biden's a national security threat, and this is further proof.
President Biden claims no knowledge of his son's connection to the sale, but as a then 10% owner of Bohai, Hunter was entitled to significant profits. Those involved told the Times they're uncertain why Hunter Biden was part of the deal. However, should the GOP retake Congress in 2022, Republicans vow to find out.
So that is the issue going on with Hunter Biden. All of this stuff is, again, continuing to come out. The guy who on there, I think he was a congressman, said Hunter Biden is a massive walking conflict of interest, and he is, because he has money in Chinese investment firms. Just to recap that story really quick, Hunter Biden helped facilitate the purchase of a cobalt mine in Africa for a Chinese development firm. At the same time, so Joe Biden went on that trip. 10 days later, Hunter Biden closed this deal. Joe Biden went on that trip as the then vice president. Then Barack Obama said, we are going to, they put $4.5 billion into supporting electric vehicles. The reason that matters is because the cobalt that is mined in that area is used to power electric vehicles. You can't have electric vehicle batteries without cobalt. Knowing that, Hunter Biden facilitated this transaction, and all of a sudden, Joe Biden, not all of a sudden, but Joe Biden is pushing hard on the electric vehicle thing. Conflict of interest? Yeah, maybe a lot. Also, it is interesting to state here, when Joe Biden goes on these electric car company things, do you notice that there's an electric car company that he continually doesn't invite or mention? Yeah, if you watched, Joe Biden last week went to GM and drove one of their electric vehicles really fast, because that shows he's a tough guy and not super old and senile at all. He's totally with it, can drive a car really fast. But whenever Joe Biden does these things, he continues to leave out one specific electric car manufacturer. Tesla is the only manufacturer that has made any sort of dent at all, and they're continually left out of the electric car conversation when Joe Biden is talking about it. You want to know why I think they're continually left out? Shoot your guesses in the comment section. Actually, you don't even need to guess, because I'm going to tell you. They're not unionized. GM is unionized. Ford, unionized auto workers. All of the unionized auto workers really get a lot of attention from Joe Biden's electric vehicle push. However, the only company that has made any sort of dent in the electric car industry doesn't get invited. Probably because they can't promise Joe Biden the thousands of votes that union workers tend to vote for. They can't promise the thousands of union votes to Democrat politicians. Wonder why Joe Biden continually leaves the only manufacturer that has made any sort of dent in his electric car company thing out. Yeah, that really proves that you're trying to push the climate, leaving out the only company that actually matters. But that is that. So Hunter Biden, again, if you're just jumping on, Hunter Biden facilitated a contract to sell a precious metal that is vital to electric cars, and all of a sudden now Joe Biden is pushing electric cars. We have to drive electric cars. There's no other option but to drive electric cars. Conflict of interest maybe a lot. Reading a lot of the comments in here. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Yolanda says, let's go, Brandon. TJ, I want to read your comment, but I can't because you used the bad word. Flo also says, let's go, Brandon. People piling on here. Yeah, this is a pretty big conflict of interest here. And while we're talking about motor vehicles, I want to get to this. This is hilarious. And then we're going to talk about Pelosi and her big house purchase. You're never going to guess where Nancy Pelosi bought a house. Maybe this means she's retiring too, but we'll talk about that in just a second. But the Joe Biden gas price stunt. Yesterday, no, we reported on it yesterday, so it happened Monday. Monday, the Biden administration came out and said, to quell gas prices, we are going to release 50 million barrels of oil. And everyone especially in your liberal media said, yay, hooray, Joe Biden, going to release millions of barrels of oil and going to get oil prices and gas prices down. Except for this. Listen to this reporter when asking the Energy Secretary of the United States and the Biden administration, how much is that really? Watch this. This is funny.
There are various figures about this, so I'm curious if you know, how many barrels of oil does the U.S. consume per day?
I don't have that number in front of me, sir.
So some suggest it's about 18 million, which would suggest you're releasing less than 3 days' worth of supply from the petroleum reserve.
So that reporter said that some people suggest it's about 18 million barrels a day. So you're releasing almost 3 days of oil to the public. Thanks, says that reporter. And here's the other thing. At the beginning of the thing, he asked the question, how many barrels of oil do we use a day? And the Energy Secretary, her only job, energy, has no idea. As is typical of these people. Mayorkas has no idea what's going on at the border. Who else is there? Xavier Becerra has no idea what's going on regarding health and human services. All of these people who continue to testify in front of Congress or go to press conferences like this have no idea what their own department is doing. So she's like, I don't know. So this big whole hullabaloo about Joe Biden releasing 50 million barrels from the National Emergency Oil Reserve isn't that big of a deal. Now, it is, I guess, a big deal, the fact that he's using taxpayer-funded emergency reserves to help a political issue that he has. He's getting hammered for high gas prices. That is also interesting. But the fact that he's releasing 50 million, I don't think that's going to make much of a difference in the gas prices. Maybe if you reinstituted the permits for the construction of the Keystone Pipeline and reinstituted the licensing for all of the other pipelines that are now shut down because we can't have oil. No pipelines in America, says Joe Biden. Again, Russia can have their Nord Stream 2 pipeline, but we're not going to get into that right now. But yeah, that's just the state of oil and gas in our country, where we have such an emergency, we're going to release 3 whole days worth of oil from the Emergency National Reserve, regardless of the fact that we're, again, tapping into taxpayer-funded National Emergency Reserve oil for political purposes, which I think is probably a problem. She's also said this, and I thought this was funny, the National Secretary. And this, I'm only playing this clip because I want to provide some commentary of how CNN or MSNBC probably would have covered this if Donald Trump was in office. Listen to the Energy Secretary then say this.
So, to be really clear, obviously, the president does not control the price of gasoline. No president does. But what we're seeing right now is this global mismatch between supply and demand.
That's as if to say that if Donald Trump were in office and gas prices were as high as they were, which they wouldn't be because Donald Trump is a little more business friendly than Joe Biden, if you haven't noticed. But if he were in office, that is to say that, the president doesn't control gas prices. Now, if this were CNN, if this were MSNBC and Donald Trump were in office, I think you would see Joy Reid or somebody on their talking head network say, and clearly that is not true. The president, to the cent, controls gas prices. He is the entire reason for high gas prices. Having clearly gone absolutely against what the Energy Secretary just said. If you watch the Rittenhouse case, I'm mostly making fun of that. They literally went on TV and blatantly said the opposite of what happened. So that is how I think they would have handled this sort of situation if the president wasn't on their team. Oh my gosh, you guys are going to go nuts over this. Have you heard about this? Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House. What do you guys have any thoughts about Nancy Pelosi? Let me know in the comment section. I feel like some people have some concerns with the way that she does her job, how she does her job. But get this. I buried the lead here. No, I didn't bury the lead. I spoiled it too early. Nancy Pelosi is purchasing a massive beach house in, guess where? Florida. The place of unruly. How many times has she criticized Ron DeSantis for his completely unhinged behavior regarding COVID and business climate and all of these sorts of things? Constantly, Nancy Pelosi has criticized Ron DeSantis so much, and nephew Gavin Newsom has been praised so heavily by Queen Nancy Pelosi of the House. Except for she's moving from California. Look, I don't know why she's moving to Florida. You can get a similar property in California. California has just as good weather. You can find it. But nevertheless, she's going to Florida. Maybe it's because of the low taxes. Maybe it's because of the business-friendly culture. Maybe it's because of the freedom that Ron DeSantis has bestowed on his citizens regarding COVID. Or at least let them make up their own mind. Maybe it's the freedom that they offer in Florida regarding COVID. But Nancy Pelosi is buying a massive beach house in Florida. Get this, couple of stats from the House. This thing is going for $25 million. Also, it's right on the water. Nancy Pelosi, for the last several decades, has been pushing the beaches are eroding, climate change is a natural disaster, the ice caps are melting, the beach will be no more. But I'm going to go ahead and buy a $25 million mansion on the beach because, I don't know, maybe I was exaggerating, says Queen Pelosi. 6 beds, 7.5 baths, 11,000 square feet, sitting on 2.5 acres on the water in Florida. $25 million she spent on this. There's a couple tweets saying, how did Nancy Pelosi even get $25 million as a public servant? How did Barack Obama get $14 million to buy his Martha's Vineyard house as a public servant? Yeah, they make a lot of money off of their book deals, but also Nancy Pelosi is married to a pretty good businessman. Now, has he benefited from Nancy Pelosi's decisions in federal government? Maybe. I don't know. But she also does business outside of the state, of the federal government, so long as we're being fair. But look, this is just typical. Actually, here, hold on. Here's maybe the good news. Maybe the good news is that Nancy Pelosi, after Democrats get just absolutely smacked in the 2022 midterms, maybe this is her retiring to Florida. Maybe this is it. Maybe she's finally gone. Because look, regardless of, I disagree with Nancy Pelosi about everything, but I'm also honest enough with myself and fair enough to say that she's really good at what she does. I wish we had more Nancy Pelosi's on the conservative side of the aisle doing things for conservative values. So if it is an indication that she's possibly going to retire after the 2022 midterms where Democrats lose, 90 seats in the House, maybe that would be a good thing. Regardless of the hypocrisy here, again, spending $25 million on a six bedroom, 7.5 bath, 11,000 square foot house on 2.5 acres in Florida, maybe there is the silver lining that she's finally going to retire and leave the party to the AOCs of the world. That if you have my political bent and believe the government should do less things, the person who should be making that pitch is AOC and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, all of those people. The more they talk, the better conservatives do. So if Nancy Pelosi were to retire to Florida and leave AOC in charge of the party, sweet. Let's do that. More of that. As much TV time and as much airtime as we can give AOC, I think the better. Somebody asked where in Florida. I'm not going to disclose that. You can find it on the internet. Yeah. So Karen says, stay in California, the state you destroyed. Yeah. There you go. That's pretty accurate. Romaine, I think maybe Roman, says Florida doesn't want her. She helped ruin California. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Let me see. There's any more comments here. Nancy Pelosi against Speaker of the House buying a $25 million beachfront property. Climate change is so bad, beaches are going to erode all around. The ice caps are melting. But I'm going to buy a beachfront property because it'll probably be fine there. Richard says she should have stayed in San Francisco. Yeah, Joyce. Yeah, a lot of consistent thought here. She's ruined California, so time to move on. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't think you see many Republicans or conservatives in the Midwest who have spent their entire time in public office moving to blue states. I don't think you see that. Maybe you get people, Republicans, moving to New York City because that's where the media is and they have media jobs. Maybe you get that. But for the most part, I think you pretty much only see Democrats moving from super blue states that they go, oh my gosh, I can't live here anymore. The crime is up. The property taxes are through the roof. Taxes in general are just through the roof. I can't live here. This is insane. I'm going to move over here. You mostly see people on the left doing that. You don't really see people on the right doing that, unless, of course, they're moving to Manhattan for a media job. But yeah, that's the consistent theme here. Let me see if there's any more commentary over here. Nothing that I can say. This is funny. She can't afford to live in California. She did buy a $25 million house. Lisa says no Pelosi in Florida. Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. I want to get to this. I want to end the Thanksgiving week on a little bit of a funny note. You know what? You know what? I got to say this too. This was pretty interesting. This is from Santa Cruz. There's nothing really to do with Pelosi's house, but we'll leave the chyron on there because Nancy Pelosi is, I believe, represents an area very close to this. Santa Cruz County in California is imposing an indoor mask mandate beginning Sunday night, which requires residents to wear masks in private settings, including homes, regardless of vaccination status. Oh my gosh. I'm going to read that again because I feel like it's unbelievable. This is from the Daily Caller. Santa Cruz, California, imposing indoor mask mandates beginning Sunday night, which requires residents to wear masks in private settings, including homes, regardless of vaccination status. I don't know. Are you going to wear a mask inside your own home? If you leave the health directors in charge of things, they are going to have everybody separated by 100 yards. No human contact because it's too dangerous, says your health directors. This is the health director for Santa Cruz. Unfortunately, a potential winter surge appears to be a significant threat to the health and safety of our community, says Dr. Gail Newell, Santa Cruz health director. Health officials are going to be the new Karens of the internet. I don't know. People complaining about things. People are just, if somebody's complaining about something, there's somebody saying COVID is going to kill the world. Okay, health official. Okay, Karen, thanks for your opinion. Okay, Mr. or Miss Health Official, whatever you say, and write them off dismissively. But that is what it is. I wanted to get to this. This is our closing for the week. This is Thanksgiving. You guys are all celebrating Thanksgiving. What did you pay for a turkey this year? I'm assuming people bought their turkeys already. Anybody see a price increase? I saw somewhere that somebody bought a 26-pound turkey. Now, that's a massive effing turkey. But somebody bought a 26-pound turkey for like $102. You wouldn't expect to spend $102 on a turkey, but yeah, that inflation is where it is. Listen to these suggestions from an NBC host as we head off into the Thanksgiving weekend. Let me know in the comment section if you think this would fly. I do not believe it would.
PAL and Zelle. And etiquette experts are a little mixed on this, but you could ask everybody to just throw in cash, $5, $10. That really adds up. And while we are on the topic of something that could be controversial, perhaps forego the turkey. Bear with me. Ooh. I know that is the staple of the Thanksgiving meal. However, some people think turkey is overrated, and so it tends to be the most expensive thing on the table. Maybe you do an Italian feast instead. And I will say this. If you tell everyone you're having a Thanksgiving without turkey, some guests may drop off the list, and that's a way to cut costs too.
A little turkey hot dogs, maybe.
Recommending it, I'm just offering it.
Okay, so those are horrible suggestions. How about this? How about you find me a Midwestern grandmother and be sorry. What I mean to say to this woman is, how about you find me a Midwestern grandmother and you tell her that? I would guarantee you get laughed all the way back to Manhattan, because what you're suggesting is absolutely ridiculous. You're telling me people should chip in for Thanksgiving dinner? You have people over to your house, it'll be a $10 cover charge. You can pay in cash. We have Venmo, we have Zelle, PayPal. We take any major credit cards to enter your house. If you're in Santa Cruz, not only are you asking for cash, but you're asking them to wear a mask, because masks are mandated inside private residences, regardless of vaccination. How do they think they're going to enforce that? I have no idea. Wes says $4.29 a pound, double last year. Yeah, prices of turkeys are going up. Anybody else have any ridiculous turkey prices? Yeah, absolutely crazy. Again, my suggestion is you find a Midwestern or a Southern grandmother and tell her, yeah, you should have people pay for coming to Thanksgiving. Or you should ditch the turkey altogether. That sounds like a good idea. Now, if you know me, which I know a lot of, there's some people that do, that know me, that watch the show, that know me in real life. You do know that I'm not a big fan of Thanksgiving food. I know that might be treason to some of you. But I'm not. I think if somebody said, hey, we're having steak for Thanksgiving dinner, I'd be like, sweet. I'm not a huge fan of turkey, specifically because most of the time, I'm not going to get into that. I might offend some of my family members. But I'm not a big fan of Thanksgiving food, so I would be okay with that, I guess. But I would reckon the most of America is not going to be okay with ditching the turkey. Let's see. Anybody else? Any other fun comments? Do we want to go back into the Hunter Biden story? If you're just watching, if you're just tuning in, we talked about Hunter Biden at the very beginning, the Hunter Biden conflict of interest. Actually, you know what? It's Thanksgiving. We're gonna take the rest of the day easy on Easy Street and tune out from there. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving with you. Oh, I clicked the wrong button there. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving with you and your family. Share some memories, share some laughs, and hopefully some great food if it isn't too expensive. But have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. Share things that you're thankful for. I'm obviously thankful to be in the United States of America, best country in the world, if you ask me. I'm thankful that I'm not living somewhere else and trying to get to the United States. But have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday weekend. Enjoy time with your family. Enjoy some good food. Enjoy some company. Just enjoy the weekend. We'll be right back here Monday. We thought about doing some shows over the next couple days. I wanted to do them specifically because if you listen to the podcast, the numbering scheme goes in line with the days of the week. So 1 is Monday and 5 is a Friday. And now we're just going to screw that all up by taking 2 days off. But I think it's well-deserved. And I don't think anybody's going to be watching if we did a show tomorrow. So we will see you right back here on Monday morning. No, Tuesday is going to be a marathon day. I'll tell you that. We'll see you right back here Monday morning. Have a great Thanksgiving weekend. Enjoy your family time. God bless America.